Before we get started on the cabinet and reassembly, I forgot to mention one other thing that I changed on the chassis. It's this fuse holder. And here's the old one. And there's a new one. In comparison, you can see quite a bit smaller. The reason I changed that fuse holder was that access in the back of the cabinet originally had that thermal cutout switch, which I'm thinking it was just nothing but like a circuit breaker that you could access by pushing a button on the back of the set. And someone had put a fuse in the set, which is fine, but that fuse holder was butted up against the back, and there was no way of changing the fuse unless you pulled the chassis completely out of the set. So I went to the smaller fuse holder. There's a pretty good comparison. And I enlarged the hole where this fuse holder was. You can see that one was no way you could unscrew that fuse because it was butted up against the back. So I enlarged this hole with a step bit, and now with that smaller fuse holder you can take a pair of long nose pliers and unscrew the cap of the fuse and change it without taking the chassis completely out of the set. And one final look before we put the chassis back in the cabinet. There's a CRT, no ion trap, no focus magnet. Okay, outer cabinet's buffed and polished, and here's what I used. It's called scratch remover, just a mild abrasive. Went over it with that, used a soft cloth like a cotton cloth, t-shirt, anything that's pretty soft where it doesn't create more scratches. As a final step, I just used this plastic polish to go over the top. And pretty good reflection, and that made the cabinet look a lot better. This cabinet has kind of a swirled finish, if you would. Got brown in it, dark brown, light brown. So there's a pretty good picture of it. But happy with the way it turned out. Before I buffed the cabinet, I took out this screen that's mounted here in the top, just held in by clips, little push clips. You push down on the pin and they grab as you push down. So we pulled that out, cleaned that screen on the front and the back, cleaned the inside of the cabinet. And then once the buffing was done on the outer cabinet, I put this back in. Here's what I come up with for knobs. These knobs are on the set when I got it. And someone has took an engraver engraved writing into that plastic. Now this one, that could be an original engraved knob. It looks pretty uniform, but this one you can see it's kind of free-handed. But I'm going to sand these, sand out all of this engraving, and that'll leave a dull knob. I think I can polish it and make it look shiny again. This one knob you can see is gone, and here's what I've done. See, I've sanded off that engraving. May need to sand a little more. I can see that V still showing through there. That's the plan. We're going to see if we can fix these knobs up to where they look a little better. These inner knobs, I had to make these, and when I say make, I took a conventional knob and just cut it down on the back side to where it would fit against the front of the set. So let's take this knob down to the shop and we're going to do some polishing on it and see how it turns out. Here's my buffer that I'll be using, and this is a #1 pad with 3M polishing compound or rubbing compound. So we're going to try this and see what it does. And after maybe 30 seconds, I think that's going to work fine. We've got our gloss back now. So I'm going to go back up to the basement shop and sand down those other 3 knobs, and then we'll bring them down here and buff them. I was really surprised that this first knob buffed up as well as it did. So on this second one, I'm using a Dremel tool with a sanding bit there, and make short work of this. You can see I still like a little more, but that eats it away pretty fast, and I think it'll buff up fine, so it's a quicker way of doing it. While not perfect, it's a big improvement over what we had when we started. Now I'm just going to hand polish these inner knobs, and they still need some cleaning. You can see that fine tuning knob still got a lot of dirt in the knurls. Now these are smooth on the edges, so no big deal on them, but we do need to do a lot of cleaning right there to get that looking better. Alright, we cleaned them one more time. Final step, put a coat of polyurethane over these. That'll give them a little more shine and protect them too. Here's what I'm going to be using. It is a gloss, so that'll definitely have some shine to them. Just a light coat should be enough. Okay, well, let's get the chassis put back in. Have all my screws laid out. There's my knobs. Just a little light buffing on the front. Cleaned the glass. So we're ready to put everything back together. The 2 screws in the back. And put some new rubber feet on. Trick that I use, just let the set hang over the bench. You can get to both the screws. Now we'll flip it around and put the 2 in the front. And there's a good look at that fuse holder. See, there's enough room around it to remove it. So I'm glad I changed that. One thing I did notice when I first got this set and looking at it, notice these screws in the front, they sit on the outside of the cabinet, they kind of stick out. Well, if you look down in there, there's a recess that a smaller head screw would go in, like that. Good side, recess is still there, the little offset that the screw will go in. And we're broken off over here. So that's why we have the larger head screws in the front. Not much I can do about that. So we're going to have to go with these larger head screws that the set came with. Maybe I can paint them. I don't know. We'll get them put in there, and I might put a little brown paint or something on there to make them blend in a little better. Now, I don't know when the set was new if it had smaller screws that were colored, colored the same as a cabinet, or if they were just metal screws that look like this, only they were recessed. On this channel selector, so I'll put a little white dot. That way we know what channel we're on. This is a white Sharpie. It's more like paint. That's channel 4. It should be right in here, and there's 6. So let's mark channel 4. Alright, I think that'll work. You can see that. There's channel 4. And there's 6. That looks a little better. Just use some acrylic paint.
All of a sudden, there's so much I gotta say to you.
Pretty much wraps it up. I'm going to show you one more thing here that I found. This is an ad from probably back in 1949 or so. And there's our TV, the 805. Says more picture per dollar, $239.95. So an interesting little look back. This set was $239.95 when it was new. Alright, that wraps this one up. So let's see if we can find a place for it over on the shelves next to the other sets. Fits pretty good right there. So we'll put this ad on top of it, just keep with it. Okay, once again, thanks for watching, and look for the next TV restore. We've got a few ahead that we plan on restoring, so be looking for those. See you next time. Hey, if you like this video, we have many more on our channel, so why not consider subscribing? We would really appreciate it. Thanks.